back to another episode of Beyond the Mirror Ball. I'm your host, Melina, and I run Mixing It Up with Melina over on Instagram and Facebook. This week, we're diving into season 14, and rest assured, there is far less chaos in season 14 than there was 13. But with that being said, season 14 still had one pivotal piece of it that really stuck out for me. And I did extra research on it because I wanted to be able to tell you guys and talk with you guys thoroughly about what happened. Side note, it has to do with Urkel and Kim, but we'll touch more on it later. With that being said, let's get comfy and cozy, get in your chair. Honestly, I already filmed this and thought my camera was filming when it wasn't. So my drink of choice is already open. And my Diet Coke mini cans were sold out at Target. So I went with Diet Dr. Pepper this week. So grab your drink, get in your chair, get in your bed, get in your car, and let's chat season 14. Okay, so season 14 is spring 2012. We still have the same three judges, Bruno, Carrie Ann, and Len. We still have the same two hosts, Tom and Brooke. Am I the only one that thought Brooke only was around for like a handful of seasons? I was surprised. I guess reminded that she actually hung around a lot longer than I thought. We have 12 couples competing this season. We have no new pros this season. We have a couple people come back that we haven't seen in a little bit, and then others that we've been seeing for a while that aren't with us right now. But let's dive into the 12 couples and then I'll break down each one for you guys. First up, we have tennis player legend Martina Navratilova, partnered with Tony Dovolani. We have soap opera actor Jack Wagner, partnered with Anna. We have TV host and comedian Sherri Shepherd, partnered with Val. We have singer Gavin DeGraw, partnered with Karina. We have the soulful singer, legend, icon, Gladys Knight, partnered with Tristan. We have Urkel himself in the building, partnered with Kim. We have Disney actor and rapper Roshon Fegan, partnered with Chelsie. We have actress Melissa Gilbert, partnered with Max. We have TV host Maria Menounos, partnered with Derek. We have telenovela actor, our first soap opera actor from the Spanish world, William Levy, partnered with Cheryl Burke. We have we have opera singer Katherine Jenkins, partnered with Mark. And then we have our Mirrorball champion, NFL legend Donald Driver, partnered with Peta. Fun fact, one of my very favorite ever Mirrorball champions is Peta and Donald. So I'm excited to talk more about them. But now, with that being said, let's go a little bit further into each couple and what they brought to the ballroom. Couple side notes. There is a new dance style this season. We have the Motown, which I really liked. We also have several different things that were brought to the ballroom. We have a dance-off, duel-off. We have a dance team where amateur teams are partnered with a pro. Full transparency, season 14 doesn't stick out to me very much outside of the Jaleel, I think that's how you say it, Urkel and Kim drama of things, and then Donald Driver winning. Now, yes, I remember all the contestants on it. I remember it being a fun and good season, but nothing specifically stands out to me. So these dance battles, the dance team thing, I don't remember any of that. But Dancing with the Stars was definitely trying to try new things. And clearly it didn't stick around. We also have a double elimination this season and things like that. But like I said, let's talk about each couple. So, first to go home this season was Martina and Tony. And I feel so bad because Tony just really was never given a partner. And it's no fault to him. These women were certainly trying. But he never made it very far. Now, spoiler alert, we will see Tony in the future win a mirror ball. And that will be his only one. But for the most part, Tony just oftentimes didn't get partners that were strong in their confidence in being on the floor, if that makes sense. But yes, they were the first to go home, and she was evident in being very nervous. Hence that. Next to go home was Jack Wagner from the Melrose Place era. I believe he is also a General Hospital guy. He was partnered with Anna, another person. Anna, you know, was giving good partners, just not strong partners. Does that make sense? He was certainly trying, just not hard enough. I will say this was the season where I read that right off the get-go, no one got less than a 20. And what I was reading, especially the first one that I read about this, was like, this just goes to show how strong our contestants were. And in hindsight, 2020, looking back, was it the contestants, or were the judges maybe told to start giving higher scores? Because the scoring, how they score today, is far different than how they scored when the show started. And I feel like at least for the first 11 seasons or so. So was this the season where it was like, do we have leniency in how we typically score? Or do we all think that the contestants were actually strong enough to receive a 20 or higher? And this was the first season that had ever happened, that no one had 20 or less in the premiere week. So then next up we had Sherri Shepherd. She's from The View. She's a comedian, and she did have her own show that just was canceled, and she was very surprised. That was actually just on it. They remained to be close. And while she was fun and great, I don't think she had a great fan base. And honestly, there's just about Sherri that I don't think a lot of people talk about. Did you know that she has a child she has nothing to do with? Her and her ex-husband, at the time they were married, started a surrogacy plan with someone. During the time of that woman being pregnant, her and her husband split. And so she made it clear that she did not want that baby. So the husband, the now ex-husband, has been raising that child, and she has nothing to do with that child. That is wild. And she has said that since she never met the child, there's no connection there. And to each their own, I suppose, but I think that's wild. Next up, we have Gavin, DeGraw, and Karina Smirnoff, and I really like them. Karina just came off the heels of winning the season before's Mirrorball, and I liked them together. And even the notes that I have that I was reading, that it kind of sticks out. There was nothing stand out about Gavin. He was good. They were great together, but nothing stood out about him. And I think that's something that we always have to remind ourselves when watching the show. And I think I've said this numerous times. You can be great, and you just aren't connecting with your fans. Now, typically when I've said it in the past, I'm referring to just not having a good connection with fans because they have a crappy personality. They're not well known. They're not well liked. But with Gavin's, it was just, I don't think he stood out in any kind of way. He was very much the middle ground person. But essentially they went home week 4. Gladys Knight, I remember being very surprised that she did the show. And I remember being not worried, but wondering if she could do the show. And she was partnered with Tristan, who was newcomer last season. And the two of them had so much fun on the show. She may not have been the best dancer. Spoiler alert, she was not the best dancer. But she had fun. And for that, I'm giving her the Andy Richter Award. And that is, she didn't go very far. I mean, week 5. So she got eliminated right before the halfway point. But truly, just so much fun. She was certainly trying. She gave it her all. And so with that, I just felt like her and Andy would get along really great. You know what I'm saying? So next up, we have Jaleel, and I may be saying that wrong. We're going to refer to him as Urkel at this point. Urkel and Kym. This is where I put a bunch of research into this week, so let's chat. Okay, so we have Urkel, Jaleel, partnered with Kym. for me, I remember it looking visually as a fan watching the show that they weren't aligned, got along. It felt like it was very forced. Maybe not necessarily tension at first, but from the get-go, it just felt forced. That's a good way to put it. I remember specifically week 1 watching that, and honestly, I had not seen or heard of Urkel since the show finished. And maybe I was in my 20s. I may have missed what he was doing, if he was doing anything, but I just remember, and I know part of when you play a character so strongly and for so long, people, fans and viewers, have a hard time sometimes turning off that he's Urkel and on that he's Jaleel. And so Urkel, for me, when I'm watching this show, is the sweet, compassionate, understanding person. And then up on my screen pops Jaleel. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, he is so arrogant. I remember being so blown away. Like, just, I vividly remember him on the screen, and I'm like, who is this person? So, anywho, fast forward a few weeks, and he is doing, let me preface by saying, there's no video footage at all anywhere of the alleged incident that we're going to discuss. There are witnesses, and there is, y'all know how I feel about the media, how they twist and turn things. So there is a lot of media coverage, but then there were 2 witnesses there that have talked about this incident as well. There also is Jaleel's point of view, and then Jaleel goes on to do a memoir that came out just not even 2 years ago, and he discusses his time on the show. So I'm going to try and go through all the layers of this, but let's start off with what this incident was that stands out specifically. So during a rehearsal, there was, I'm just making sure I've got my notes right, because I did stuff on this. Okay. It broke that from media outlets saying that sources on set during the rehearsal saw Jaleel. Let me backtrack. Let me get my notes because they're very specific with that. It begins with he accidentally stepped on Kim's foot. She reacted with an ouch, and he flipped out. He called her an idiot, and that he was blaming the producers for not giving him a proper partner, and in fact even called her stupid. An idiot and stupid. He also was in her face yelling, and the fellow pro Mark Ballas and fellow contestant Donald Driver stepped in to intervene because he was very aggressive in how he was speaking to Kim. He then allegedly, I would like to reiterate, this is alleged, that he looked at Mark and said, "You remind me of that annoying sitcom neighbor who gets into everyone's business." Cute of you to be the Nate. Is he referring to himself? Like, what? And then once things escalated, the producers sent him home. They called the rehearsal and they wanted him to cool down. Now, the following day, once this breaks, all of them, Kim, Jaleel, Mark, Donald, all are in agreement that the media outlets really misconstrued what happened and that they made it seem way worse than what had happened. So I did some research to see who said what, and they all almost verbatim said that the outlets misconstrued what actually happened that day. My guess, knowing the little that I know and how the media works, is that someone or people that were on the set, meaning crew members, maybe even video guys, assistants, it could even be catering, someone or some people heard this, and that is how the outlets got it. I did read, allegedly, that he was also somewhat, I shouldn't say somewhat, that he was known on the set as being tough to work with, that he had a very diva-like behavior. These are things I'm just finding in my research, right? I was not there. I don't know anything about it. I just know as a viewer watching him, he did come across very arrogant. That doesn't mean he is. I'm just saying how he's edited and how he was presented on camera. But a lot of what I'm thinking in my head, people are coming forward and saying that. So in addition to all of that, I went to see, okay, did Mark have anything to say post this? And so let me go a little bit into Mark, Donald, Kim, and Jaleel, what they say specifically following this incident and the reports circulating, because they circulated. So like I said, all of them downplayed it. Not a big deal. But they wanted to remain unified and that everything was good. And by the time everyone got to set the next day, everyone was back on like the same page. When specifically Mark was asked about it, and they used the word, what do you know of the meltdown that day? He quoted, it was a complete fabrication and that they were twisted for drama. Okay. He later then said that things did get heated and that was what happens in high stake competitions and that maybe that wasn't far from the norm. However, what the media was portraying was. He did note, once again, that by the time they were all in the same room for the live show, everyone was good to go. And another quote for Mark was that it wasn't as big of a deal as everyone is making it. So no one is saying that it didn't happen. They're just saying what you guys are reading is an exaggeration of what happened, is how I'm taking it. So then let's go over to, I want to say that Mark has never touched on if Jaleel actually, you said that quote, you remind me of an annoying neighbor that gets in everyone's business. No one has ever confirmed that, but that is what whoever the source or sources were for this incident, they use that specific quote. All right, so then we have Donald Driver. Donald Driver actually knew Jaleel prior to the show, so there was already a common ground for the two of them. In his interviews following the season, he did agree that it was blown out of proportion by the media, and he said specifically, I think things like this are always over-exaggerated. People make more out of it than what it is. Again, not denying it, but simply downplaying it and making it now, which could easily be the thing. Donald goes on to claim that he felt like that situation actually brought everyone closer together. I don't know, maybe. The only thing Kim has literally ever said about this situation was shortly after the media, the same kind of thing the guys were doing, that it was blown out of proportion, and that it was misconstrued on what actually happened. However, sometimes silence is golden, or silence tells us more than what am I trying to say? She has never touched on her partnership with Jaleel since then. And Kim is very vocal. She does all sorts of interviews. She's still incorporated into the Dancing with the Stars family. She judges the Australian show. She judged this past season. Please bring her back. But she has never talked about her partnership with him to this day. Good or bad. Just nothing. Nothing. Jaleel did have a memoir come out in 2024. So in his memoir, Growing Up Urkel, he claims that the friction wasn't a one-time incident, but there were a lot of calculated manipulation being conducted by the producers. And he felt that the producers looked at him and they could get that with him. He feels that that they put extra stress on him. He was very upset that Kym was not available for weekend rehearsals because she already had prior commitments, which he knew going into it. He also admits in his memoir where he had a petty moment of revenge his specific quote, a fleeting moment of petty revenge, where they were flying to New York City to do a Wendy Williams show. Love Wendy. And he made her flying coach and he took first class. Now, his business manager stepped in and changed that so that they were both flying first class. And he says that during that flight to the show, which if you're familiar, Los Angeles to New York City is a 4-5 hour flight. And he says during that time they bonded and reconciled. He also has said that despite the feeling of calculated manipulation, he would do the show over again, and he has nothing but great memories from it. That doesn't make sense. I don't know. To each their own, right? But so that is the drama of it. Me personally, my hot take is I 100% believe it happened. The fact that two other men, whether it's the drama misconstrued, played out, over-exaggerated, they still had to de-escalate a situation between a man and a woman. Oh, it also is said that he didn't like that she would say, you have to do what I tell you to do. And his personality doesn't like that. That's what he talks about in his memoir too. Like, it's just like, so we are big Family Matter fans in this house. We will continue to love on Family Matters and continue to watch it all the time. With that being said, I am not a fan of him. I wish him nothing but the best. And I think that thing, I say on this all the time, people can change. Hopefully he's a better man now. And hopefully he does not get in a woman's face ever again. But there's that. Tell me in the comments below, what are your thoughts on this whole situation? Okay, next up we had Roshon and Chelsie. Y'all know I love Chelsie. They called him a Disney star. I was not familiar with who he was, but they were really good. I liked their partnership together, but apparently I'm not the only one who didn't know where he was, because while he was good at what he was doing, I think once you get to like the second half of the competition, you really, really, really need that fan base to keep you going. And I don't know that he had it. But he was a much better dancer than I thought he was going to be. And I enjoyed them. Then next up we had Melissa Gilbert and Max. And I thought it was a nice change of pace to have Melissa, who's known as being soft and happy and easy to work with, as his partner versus a versatile, strong opinion, often rude partner. And they went far, but obviously not far enough. But they got along really well, and it was nice to see that end of things. Then we had Maria and Derek, and I am one of the many of you who thought maybe they were dating, but Maria has been with her now husband for years. They just took a long time to get married, and I verified it. I looked. They were dating when her and Derek were a partner. Many people thought they were dating. And they just had really great chemistry. And I've said this before, but if you're new here and this is your first time seeing it, Dancing with the Stars is really the pros. A lot of them, not always, and not all of them, are really good at distinguishing, understanding that there's great chemistry, but never acting on it. And so the two of them really had great chemistry. I found it fascinating. Maria continued dancing she had a broken rib at one point, but she persevered, and she was a fantastic dancer, and I really liked them together. And there was a huge shocking moment when she went home. A lot of people were kind of baffled to keep seeing Donald Driver continuing to stay in the competition when you have all these other dancers that were going home. And so when Maria went home, and Donald was still there. And there was a bit of an uproar about it. But this is where the fans come in. And while she might have been a better dancer than Donald, she just didn't have the right votes, which, funny enough, we're going to talk about some more in a little bit. Then we had William Levy enter the ballroom. If you are familiar with a telenova, they are the Spanish soap operas, and yet they are much more scandalous over there. So William was a very well-known telenova actor, and he brought that scandalous sex appeal to the ballroom, and it was showcased. It felt like, maybe not every dance, but it certainly felt like it. Even to the point where I think it was Len said something about like, all you do is shake your butt. Bruno was loving it. There are several quotes on here that were like borderline inappropriate, read between the lines type thing. William and Cheryl were really good. Many of you have messaged me wondering if William was one of the three part. I know it's just like mystery. I didn't think they hooked up, and I forgot to look. I think he's been married to his wife for a very long time too. I'd have to look that up. Or he was. I think they divorced recently. Yeah, he's going through a thing, or he was going through a thing. But I guess, yeah. He placed third. He was the heartthrob. He fed into it. I've said this before. I don't generally find it appealing when someone is so full of themselves. Hence the Derek and Mark and Val and Max first half of their careers. There's just something icky about it, but so many of you love it, and that's okay. That's what everyone has, to each their own, right? So then we have the battle of the two. Our top two couples are Katherine Jenkins and Mark Ballas, and Donald Driver and Peta. So let's talk about these two because they're vastly different. And this is one of the seasons where there was like a huge shock value in how things ended up the way that they did. Okay, so Katherine Jenkins, I was unfamiliar with who she was. And I think I can speak for most of you. If you were not familiar with the opera singing classical artistry industry, I don't think many of us knew her, but she was beautiful. I don't know if it was before or after her time on the show, but she had done a little bit of acting. But her and Mark got together and they did very well. I also researched it. They never dated. She actually said in an interview that the second it was announced they were a partner, people were already like, oh, they're dating. Like they didn't even have a chance to connect and get to know each other. People were already like spewing it. And so they played into it. They did have great chemistry. They got along really well, but they actually never dated. And then you have Donald Driver, former NFL legend, partnered with Peta. Peta, this was her second season on the show. And together they were able to make some really cool dances. Now, did he have amazing technique? No. Did he grow? Was he a great partner for her? Yes. They were a lot of fun and they were good. But when you have Katherine, who was almost the whole season getting perfect scores, and then Donald, it felt like if, as a viewer, just on technicality, not only was she going to win, it was going to be a landslide. And then she lost to Donald Driver. And I tell you what, like I've said, one of my favorite Mirror Ball champions is them. Watching the announcement of him winning, him and Peta's reactions, I mean, it was so, I love it. I just love it.
Donald and Peta! I've got to ask you the question that Brooke always will ask. How do you feel? How do you feel? Amazing!
Oh, this is awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Last season, you were out the first week.
And that wraps up season 14 of Beyond the Mirror Ball, Dancing with the Stars. I'm your host, Melina. Please be sure to like this video and leave any comments of your thoughts. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and then make sure you're following me over on Instagram and Facebook. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a good one. Bye.